Andy, I'm producing this video just to basically go over this template with you to help you understand what it is that I want you to do. So we're going to go through this kind of section by section. Shouldn't take too long because most of this is really pretty simple. This first red line, the main thing I want you to do basically is just to get the person's name, address, the city, the state's Texas obviously, and the zip code. I really don't care about the date. You can put it in there if you want to. There's actually an automatic way to do that, and I'll show that to you later. So if you can just get the name, address, city, state, zip code, that'll be fine. Normally, if it's a couple, I'd prefer to get Mr. and Mrs. Get both of them's name in there. Sometimes they may have different last names, so you need to be sensitive to that. But sometimes they only want one person's name, so just use your best judgment. But I think most married couples are, really would like to see both names on there and both make both of them feel good. So let's go through this. Whoops, got a little ahead of myself there. The next thing is this summary assessment. You don't really need to do too much with this. If you want to rewrite some of this, you can. Most of this is pretty standard. The inside distress comments, you can just leave for me. Same thing with the outside distress comments, unless you want to put it in there. The comments about elevation and tilt and levelness, again, I'm probably going to edit that to some degree anyway, but if you feel like you need to put something in there, you can. Don't worry about the foundation repair. I'll be doing that. Specific concerns, you can skip all of this and just come down to this chart. You'll see that these are actually check boxes. So if he's concerned, for instance, about some cracks in coffered ceilings, you can just check it like that. That's all you have to do. Below here, there's some room where you can add some comments if you want to, but you don't have to do that. But some of this stuff, if he has concerns about it, you may want to add some comments, because that'll help me when I'm writing the report. And there's space over here where you can type in other things, because he may be concerned about something that we don't even have here. So just type that in, put a check mark by it, and again, any comments that you want to include, just put below that. Going on through here, recommended plan of action. This is just basically a list of things that we would recommend that they do. In your specific case for this house, I don't know if you even need to do that. We may leave this whole section out because he's really just looking for an opinion as to whether or not it needs to be repaired or not. But for practice, if you think any of these are things that they should do, just check them. Again, these are check boxes, so you can just check something. And like under floor tile cracks, we would just give him some explanation as to how to repair those cracks. Again, if it's something you think he should do that's not listed here, there's more check boxes with blanks, so you can always add stuff. You can put notes below that. There's plenty of room. Make more room if you need to. Once we get to what I call the appendix, then you can skip really a lot of this. It's just boilerplate. There's really nothing for you to do there. Let's go on down. Project description. Obviously, it's a single family home, detached. That's virtually all that we do. I don't know if this is 2-story or 1, so you may need to change that. It's apparently occupied, but if that's not the case, then you need to change that. If you can get an idea of how old the house is in years, put that in. Was the client there? Most of the time it'll be yes. Was the owner present? Most of the time, if it's for a real estate transaction for a buyer, the owner won't be there. In this case, the client is the owner, so you can just put OC and then hit enter, and it'll automatically put in there that the owner is in fact the client, and you've already said the client was present. This is our understanding of the past history of the house, structural history. Again, these are check boxes. Past underpinning, you may not have any information about that. Sometimes they have information, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you just don't know. So there's a box there for you to check on all of that. So just check whatever is appropriate here. Always find out if, it says were previous engineering reports available? That's almost always going to be no. That's why I didn't put any check marks there. I could put that in. I think I'll go back and do that and resend it to you. Same thing with soil reports. Every once in a while somebody have a soil report. Almost always the answer is no. But just fill this out as best you can. Put any comments you want to below it. And then we come on down to significant observations. Again, for cracks, just fill this out as you see fit. Don't worry about the boilerplate. Same thing with drywall cracks. We just need the number and the width of the largest one. We come to the doors. Again, we want to know how many were sticking or not latching, how many were not operable. Did you see any visible door frame distortion on the first floor? Answer is either yes or no. You don't have to give a number. Cracks and separations in exterior walls. Again, I kind of divided up like a rectangle. So like for the front wall, I just want to know how many did you see? What was the largest one? How much did all of them on that wall add up to? And don't worry about the estimated deflection ratio. I can calculate that. In fact, I'm probably going to set this up so it calculates it automatically. I just haven't done that yet. I just usually do it on my calculator. But this is important, so I need to know this information. Now, just remember, if you have a vertical separation and the separation is the same from top to bottom, that's probably a thermal crack unless it's really big. You know, if it's a 1/4 inch wide, that's probably not thermal or bigger. But if it's a 1/16 or an eighth of an inch and it's the same up and down, that's from caulk shrinking up or some kind of thermal action that's causing that crack. But if the crack widths are different from top to bottom, then that's usually the foundation. And if it's stair-stepped in the brick, that's usually from the foundation. So those are the ones that you want to count. Fireplace chimney, you're not going to see this very often, but you sometimes will see them where they're rotated out away from the house. So you want to put the width of the gap and approximately how high above the foundation was the gap measured. The reason I put that in there, frankly, is because what I really want to know is how wide is the gap about 8 feet up. Okay, because that's just how it makes my calculations easier. Just remember the gap is going to, by geometry, is going to be wider the higher you go. So a gap that's an inch wide, but it's super high up there, that may not mean very much. If at 8 feet, it's not all that big. Usually anything that's approaching a 1/2 inch at 8 feet is a significant issue. So that's something you want to catch. You're almost never going to see visible evidence of damage to the to a structural member. That just isn't going to happen very often. Okay, this will be the drawing for our the footprint of the slab. And I mean, this is important to get this. It doesn't have to be exact. It's not to scale, but it needs to be, reasonably the same shape. So you need to draw that in. You can put the elevation measurements in here if you want to. In fact, you probably should. In those, just move those squares around as you need to. You'll copy that and then place it on this page. Just to cut and paste. When I say copy that, I'm talking about the footprint of the foundation, the sketch. Place it on this page and then move these profile lines to approximately where they need to be that show where you took your profiles. You also need to show the garage if it's attached so I know where it is. Now, to make your profile for the middle transverse, you really don't need to make it right now. We'll get to that a little bit later. But what I do want you to do is look at this table right here and measure the span. You'll do that. That's the distance from one end to the other that you'll do with your rolling measure. You want for the transverse, the elevation in the front, the middle elevation, and the rear elevation. The middle elevation does not need to be exactly in the middle, but it should be somewhere around there. And I usually try to be sensitive to the fact that I look at my the ones at the ends, and look and see what kind of elevation I have in the middle that's likely to give me the most deflection. So I try to be a little conservative here. So I just need those numbers and need the span. Then I'll take care of the profile. I'll show you later how to do that. So you do that for front to back. You do it from side to side. Again, the side to side numbers, you just go right here into that table. This is for an overhead garage door. You're probably not going to need that, so don't worry about it. But it's basically done the same way. And then there's a place for photos. The photos go in these boxes. Okay, that's what they're there for. You'll see, in fact, probably for right now, you shouldn't even put the photos in here. You can if you want to. It's a little bit tricky if you're used to how this is done in Word, because it does not work exactly the same way. What I would like you to do is I think I'd ask you to download Faststone Image Resizer, which is a little free program. Any photos that you take, run them through Faststone and reduce the size. They'll cut the size down by about 90%. And then you take the resized photo and place them in these boxes. Or you can just send them in a separate file and I'll put them in there. And at some point I'll show you how to put them in the boxes. It's really not hard. You may not need to even take any photos. Most of the time I don't take any. Maybe I should, but I just don't. So this may be something you don't even have to worry about. And that's basically everything you have to do. There's really not all that much to this. At least for what you have to do right now. For things I'm skipping, we'll get to that later. So if you have any questions, just give me a call.